Emma Storey is the co-founder of Hera. That's 2 female founders. No team, no investors. Both with toddlers at home, and Emma fell pregnant again in year 1. Both worked part-time and managed to bill $350,000 in year 2 and are on track for $500K in year 3. But before starting Hera, Emma assumed her recruitment career would end when she became a mum.
And I'd never really had any role models. I don't think I'd ever worked with a mum in recruitment. It just wasn't the thing. I worked in one business. There was one mum. There were certain days where she had to leave at 3 o'clock. Every day, without fail, somebody would shout across the office, "Thanks for coming."
And this reaction doesn't just happen inside recruitment agencies. Emma sees it from the other side with candidates in the market every single day too.
So many people will come to us and say, "I feel really nervous about going to a job interview with my wedding ring on," because I know as soon as they see that, they know that I'm about the age where I probably think about having kids, and I know it will go against me. We've heard the hiring managers say to us, "We don't want people from this age range or that have recently got married because we need people without kids at the moment."
So Emma and her co-founder Nicola did the complete opposite of what the industry has expected for years. They launched their own recruitment agency, led with the fact they're working mums, and refused to hide it.
We always knew we were going to be quite vocal about the fact that we were working mums. We weren't going to hide it. And will they take us seriously as women and as working mums? We did 150 in year 1, 350 in year 2. And obviously in year 2, I was off on maternity leave for 3 months. And then I was only working 3 days a week for the rest of the year.
Most recruitment founders I interview are chasing some form of scale. But Emma is genuinely chasing something different.
We don't have any aspirations to do more than that, because that should provide us with a great lifestyle, being super present with our kids, not having to miss anything with our kids, but also earning a good salary. People always say, do you really want to be on the phone to candidates in 10 years time? I actually really enjoy that part of it.
Emma was told that becoming a mum was the end of her recruitment career, but she turned this into the very reason she started her own agency. So if you're a female recruiter wondering how much longevity you've got in your career with aspirations of being a mum, or you've also got aspirations of being an entrepreneur in this industry, then this episode is a must listen to for you. So this is a brand new episode of the RAG Podcast with Emma Storey, the founder of Hera. Emma, welcome to the RAG Podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, pleasure. It was only recently we spoken, wasn't it? I saw your amazing work on LinkedIn. I shouted it out. You got in the comments with me. And then we were like, why don't we do a podcast? Why don't we do a podcast? And I'm really pleased we managed to spin it around, because the schedule is pretty packed for the next 6 months. So you squeezed yourself in there. Well done.
Do you know what? I knew that if I put it off until some of the later dates, I'd probably never do it. I'd chicken out. But let's just rip the plaster off.
Let's do it. Well, look, for those that don't know you, I've done a little introduction, but it's never the best, right? So if we could just get from you now, I don't want any of the history, just who you are, what you do today, size of company, focus, niche, location, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So I'm Emma Storey. I'm the co-founder of Hera, which I founded with the very lovely Nicola Morse in, end of 2023. So we're now 2.5 years in, and we are tech recruitment with a bit of a focus around product management and design. But we do cover engineering and most positions, to be honest, within tech startups and scale-ups. And we've got a real focus on diversity and inclusion, specifically women in tech, and supporting women in leadership, and kind of diversity across the board as well.
Amazing. And I said to you just off air there, you started your business as my little girl was born. So that period of time is really, really pertinent for me personally, that 2 and a bit years. Yeah. It's gone so fast for me. Has it felt like that for you?
Yeah, it has absolutely flown. And when I think about what has happened in our lives, personally in that time as well, I feel like so much has changed. And yeah, to think that we've been in business for 2.5 years is just mental, really. But yeah, it's been great. I've loved it.
Well done. Well, that's it. You're still here. Most businesses don't make it 2 years.
True. Especially 2023, 2024, the odds were against us, really, weren't they?
You didn't start, if you look historically in, probably in years, let's say the last 20 years of starting a recruitment company, you probably picked the worst time in the whole of that period.
Did.
Apart from 2008, maybe.
We did kind of, we thought about that at the time. We thought but then when is the right time? Because if you're booming and you've got so many clients and everything's going really well, you then have to completely give that up, don't you, and then start again from scratch. So like, is that the best time to start business either? So we kind of thought, it's now or never. Let's just do it.
So 2008 is another year that's important for you. So that's when you started your career in work, I believe, and you started. It wasn't recruitment. It was you worked for Boots Pharmacy in various roles for was it 8 years you were there?
Yeah, so I had like a whole different career for, I think it was about 8.5 years before I came into recruitment. So I ended up not going to university. I always thought I would, but then I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went to like a different sixth form to my school, and the sixth form wasn't great. And I just kind of thought, do you know what? I just want to work. I got my first job when I was 12. Like, I just love working. So I ended up not going to uni. Worked in a bar for a couple of months, like through the summer, and I was like, right, okay, I need to find a proper job. So I ended up getting it was like a trainee position with Boots, basically, to become a dispenser. I didn't even know what a dispenser was, but I was like, I can do that.
I don't know what that is either. What's a dispenser?
So you get qualifications to be able to dispense prescriptions, basically.
Right. Okay.
Which is actually really hard and really complicated, because if you think, like, when you get like one item on your prescription from the doctor and then you take it and then they dispense it, fine. But a lot of people are on like 20 medications. So we would have stacks of prescriptions coming in every like morning and afternoon, so many complicated. So it was actually a really, really hard job.
If you get that wrong, you could seriously affect someone, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. There's that kind of health risk, but also you can go to prison for making mistakes as well. So it's like super high pressure. And I was like 18 at the time, so it was good. And I trained up, and then I think when I turned like 19, they wanted me to become a team leader. So I did that. Went on their like internal management course. Then they wanted me to take over as a store manager. So I did that. And then, so that was down in Devon. I grew up in Cornwall and worked in Devon. And then I moved to Exeter and took on a new store there as a store manager. Anyway, did that for quite a few years. And then in when was it? So when I was 23, basically, I was living moved to Exeter, moved back again to Devon. I was living in Devon, and then my mum got really ill. She had a brain hemorrhage. And I'd say this was kind of a key part of like how I ended up in recruitment, because for about so she was in a coma for about 6 months. She was in hospital for about 9 months. And I was working at Boots. I was a store manager. And I remember I had to like get up at 5 o'clock, drive about an hour. So I was doing about 35 miles to work, starting at 6 a.m, working till about 3, driving another hour into Plymouth so I could be with her for like a few hours in the evening, and then driving an hour back again. So I was doing that for 9 months. And I mean, I was 23. I was on a really, really bad salary. I had no money. I was like renting with my boyfriend at the time. So we had, quite a lot to pay for, both on really low salaries. And that driving 3 hours a day, and obviously it was like exhausting as well, but the cost of it, I couldn't afford the fuel. So I was racking up all this debt. I was having to obviously I'm not thinking about that at the time. I'm just thinking about like my mum and her getting better. So I remember just being on this terrible salary, working super hard at Boots. So I was the store manager. I had a team of about 10 people, but I was also a full-time dispenser. So if you're a qualified dispenser and a store manager, you have to come out of like the dispensing budget. So you have to be full-time dispensing whilst doing everything else. It was so hard. So I racked up all this debt because I couldn't afford for the fuel of all the driving that I was doing. And then carried on with Boots. She came out of hospital. I moved home to help look after her for about a year. And then when I was 25, I ended up moving to Bristol. So that was when I had a few more opportunities open up, I suppose. Like, there aren't many careers down in Devon. I did a year working in like the Bristol flagship store. So I was like their operations manager, and then they lost their pharmacy manager. So they said, you've got a pharmacy background, would you take over as the pharmacy manager? Absolutely hated it. Like, that store was honestly the hardest job I've ever done.
Wow.
hated it. And I was so skint, like I couldn't get on top of the debt because I wasn't earning enough to cover the interest. So I did that for 12 months. And then I met my now husband. So we met on Tinder or Bumble or something like that at the time.
Yeah.
And he had a really great job, and I worked really unsociable hours. I remember it was like just before Christmas that I met him, and like I was working every weekend, and I think I worked till like 8 o'clock Boxing Day. I'm sorry, 8 o'clock Christmas Eve, and then I was back in at like 5 a.m. Boxing Day, and it just was a real like, this is so rubbish. Yeah, what am I doing? Because he had this great job, nice car. Like he didn't go to uni either, so it wasn't like, you look at people with degrees and
Was
you think,
he
well,
in
they.
recruitment?
No, he's an engineer, so he'd been in the
Right.
army, and then come out as a civil engineer, and he'd just moved to Bristol as well. So yeah, and I think I was like embarrassed. Like I was really quite embarrassed that I like hardly had any money, and I don't think I'd ever told him about my debt. But like, we'd be going out on dates and stuff, and I'd
How
pay
much
for
were
it
we talking?
in terms of debt.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how much, but like thousands and thousands.
Wow.
Yeah, like.
So what was the final, like, what made you finally just go right and then get into recruitment?
I think it was that Christmas, and I just thought, I'm not doing this again. Like this, that late on Christmas Eve, back in Boxing Day morning, got nothing to show for it. Like I'm so stressed, and I've got no money. So my like sole purpose was going on Indeed and just finding the job that will pay me the most money. I think I'd probably heard about recruitment, as most people have, but I didn't really know what it was or like why people would use recruiters. But it was literally, what job have I got the transferable skills for? And I really backed myself. Like I've always been a hard worker. So I thought, really, any office job that's going to be a little bit more 9 to 5, I know I'll be able to do it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So it was a case of, who will hire me and pay me a decent basic salary? And also, I think I really wanted something that, like, the harder you worked, the more money you made. Like, I was really, like, fed up of working myself to the bone, and then it just makes no difference whatsoever to your salary.
No, I know.
So, that obviously, recruitment was, like, the perfect solution.
So, I mean, I was 25, turning 25 in Australia when I got into it, and it was very similar. I mean, I was a school teacher who probably didn't work as hard as you and didn't do as many hours, but there was definitely no way I was getting paid more for any more work. And at 25, I went traveling, landed in Australia. I was like, I'd have had to pay $10,000 to retrain as well because of the way I did it in England wasn't valid over there. So I'm like, and then every English and Irish lad I met was working in recruitment, and they were all like flashing the cash, and I was like, well, what are they doing? And then that was it. And then me and my mates just blagged our way into different companies. And I think you're probably like the perfect person, and I was like mid-20s. You know yourself. You've had a bit of a career already. Yeah. You've worked hard. You've seen no financial rewards from it.
Yeah.
They know they can throw you in front of someone on day one, and you'll hold your own in a conversation. You don't know anything about recruitment, but I can see why. So without going into every specific, because this show I want to really focus on Hera and the founder story, but talk us through like how your recruitment career progressed, not in detail, but like. Mm-hmm. And how you took to the role from coming from a different industry.
Yeah. I'd say I loved it from day one, week one. I found it quite scary. I think like the whole getting on the phones thing was like, oh, okay, like I'll do this, but it was like daunting. And like the company that I joined initially was like a really traditional, quite intense, everyone out of your seats in the afternoon on the phone type environment, which I think was great to learn in. I definitely think that it was a really good foundation for me. But I loved it. The market that I initially did was not the most exciting market. I did risk and compliance in insurance, which of course I knew absolutely nothing about, but I just loved that it was like a new topic that I could be a bit of a nerd and just, I remember like thinking, I'm going to get myself like, whatever it was, like FCA compliant and like take all the qualifications that they take so that I can know what they're talking about. I didn't do that, but I really enjoyed that, like just learning like a whole new space that I didn't know before.
Was there like called Marius working there then?
Yes.
Marius Hurley. Yeah. So I was in, because at that time I was in So right up until end of 16, 17, I was working in insurance recruitment in London. So I worked in business transformation in insurance, and Marius came on my radar as someone that was good. So I
Yes,
reached out to him. I met him for a coffee in London, and he was like trying to headhunt him from Panorama. So the only reason I know the brand and the Bristol is from that meet. I had a meeting with him, probably 2016, 2015, 2016.
Did you ever
So yeah,
meet
we're going
Dan?
back. No, he didn't join me either. Marius, if you're listening, you made a mistake, mate. But anyway, I think he's gone on and done pretty cool things for himself.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, he's really good. And then you moved on a year later and got into more of a tech-focused agency.
Yes, then exactly. So ISL was, so I'm based in Bristol, and I knew of ISL. They were quite different, I think, compared to my first panoramic. So they had like a 50-50 split of men and women, like when I joined. And I think in recruitment, like that's obviously incredibly rare. It definitely wasn't like that in the first company. So that was like what really drew me to it. And even stuff like when I went for my interview, like they had music playing in the office, and like there was none of that at Panoramic. It just, everyone was like a lot more casual. It just had a different vibe to it, which I didn't really know was like a thing in recruitment. Like, and I think they were probably one of the first people to kind of adopt that sort of environment. I think it probably was back then. We're talking 10 years ago. Most offices were pretty corporate, pretty, well, yeah, just like what you think of when you think of recruitment, really. Like they were like that. But yeah, ISL just had a slightly different approach. Still had some really high performers, but yeah, I just liked it. I had a good vibe from it, and I was really interested to get into tech recruitment. They talked to me about product management. And
you've given up on your FCA qualifications at this point.
I gave up on that pretty quick. You know, one of the things as well I kind of didn't like about that market was that the risk team or the compliance team was super small. So once you like got a client, built a relationship with them, they might have like one hire that year, two if you were lucky, and then you had to go and get new clients. It was quite transactional, whereas obviously in tech you can build out massive teams. And I really liked that, and that was like a selling point for the product market. So I joined them in 2017, and it was brilliant. Yeah, I had 6 years with them, and I always said, I'll do this job. I'll rinse this career for what it is. I'll make as much money as possible. Obviously by now, cleared my debt, bought my first house, really like reaping the rewards, and like, every ounce of hard work that I was putting in was paying off. I loved it. I loved not being in management anymore, because I was in management for such a long time. Like I really loved that I didn't have to rely on other people for my own success, and like I could have a break from running teams. And there was a couple of times where like they'd speak to me and say, you kind of naturally take on this leadership role in the business. And I was like one of the older ones as well. So like I was kind of like a bit of a mum figure for the office. They're like, are you sure you don't want to take on a team? And yeah, I just never felt like the urge to go back to it. I always kind of looked at management and thought, you've got way more stress and I'm probably earning more than you. So I kind of never really went down that route again. And then, so I kind of said, I'll do this until I have kids, because it wasn't, I think I joined ISL when I was, I would have been just turned 27. So I knew within a few years we would have children.
You were already married at this point?
We got married in 2020. So it was like, we will have a baby and get married at some point in the next couple of years. We didn't know which would come first. I actually ended up falling pregnant a month or 2 weeks after we got engaged. So we ended up having the baby first and then got married.
Wow.
Yeah, like a year after.
So how did that play out at work then? Because like you said off air, like there's so many females in our industry that almost this career is only really pre-baby in their mind. Like they're not sure where it's going to go once they become a mum. So how did that play out for you?
Yeah. And I'd never really had any like role models. I don't think I'd ever worked with a mum in recruitment. It just wasn't the thing, was it? And even the dads, like they'd have to be there till whatever time at night, that it would be the mum at home with the children. So I just didn't think it would work. And then so in terms of COVID, I actually ended up having I think I must have thought, right, we're going to have to give this a go. I'm in the right sort of company that will support it, and maybe it could work. So we decided to, that we were ready, and I fell pregnant in 2019. And yeah, I think I'd spoken to my managers and my directors about it and said, in the ideal world, I will work from home 2 days and I'll work in the office 2 days and then I'll have 1 day off. Like that's kind of what I don't think I could do this job in any less than 4 days. So if that works for you, then we could try. I think I was already doing 1 day working from home because I'd reached kind of principal or managing consultant level, and you could do 1 day at home. But this was obviously pre-COVID, so it was like a real treat to be able to work from home. Anyway, they agreed to that. They said that's fine. 2 days in the office, 2 days at home. So yeah, I went back and it worked really well. And obviously I went back when everything was booming. So it was like January 2021.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. Had a great couple of years with them.
The thing about that point is everyone was remote anyway. So
exactly
the flexibility, you almost had the baby at the right time from a industry getting ready for the flexibility perspective, right?
Yeah. Had that not have happened, maybe I wouldn't be in recruitment.
I remember my boss Claire at Banquet, who Claire was an incredible recruiter, still is in the industry insurance space, and she had a baby. It would have been 2015 or something, and I remember she really battled with, being at home a couple of days a week or a day a week, and the guilt and the comments, and it just was so taboo. And I don't like to say. I think if that had been 5 years later, it would have been much easier.
Yeah.
So
I worked in one business. I won't say which one, but there was one mum. She wasn't there for very long, and there were certain days where she had to leave at 3:00, and every day, without fail, somebody would shout across the office, "Thanks for coming," because she was leaving to pick things up, and it would literally make my insides turn. It was horrible.
You still hear that now? I still hear a lot of those comments.
You
I remember going to the gym at lunch I got promoted to management, and billing wasn't really, even though I still had a loose target, it was more about the team. And I thought, you know what? I've put a bit of weight on. I feel a bit shit. I've worked so hard to get to where I am. I got a PT. And I got a PT, and I went Monday, Wednesday, Friday lunchtimes.
Yeah.
But I went at 1 till 2. So I'd let my team have their lunch at 12. And then when everyone was coming back in, I was like, right, I'm going to nip out and I'll be back for 2. I'll get in at 2:15 after having a shower and that. And some of the faces, and I'm like the biggest biller in the company's history, like just under £1 million on my own. Like none of them have ever done what I've done in that company, but they're watching me and a few comments. But then what happened was my contract book that was propping the team up started to dwindle. I had one girl left because she had her mum had cancer and things. It just I had this perfect storm of the PT started and shit just didn't work. The contract book didn't grow, and everyone put it down to the gym. Everyone. I had so many comments off people you shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, this is pathetic. This is ridiculous. 1 hour a day, 3 days a week has zero impact on. I could tell you exactly what's going on, but no one give a shit. They just didn't like the fact I was walking out with a bag at that time of day.
Yeah.
They hated it.
And also, I used to find that it didn't matter what time you turned up in the morning. There'd be some of us in the office at 7:00.
Yeah.
Some people will waltz in at 8:30. But if you didn't leave before any of them, you got comments and eye rolls, and someone wouldn't say goodbye to you because they're so annoyed that you're leaving. In fact, I was here 2 hours before you.
Yeah. So obviously you started your business 2.5 years ago, but I'm right in believing you took a role in between this role and the one. So talk us through that final employment. Why did you do it and what happened?
Yeah. So 2022 is when I left ISL. And that was due to I'd been there 6 years. I was sort of craving a bit of a change and what's next. They were also going through quite a bit of restructure. They ended up downsizing quite considerably just after I left. So all of that was kind of brewing, lots of decisions being made. And it just felt like this would be a really natural time to find something else. Tom Hurley from Method had reached out a number of times over the last sort of 3 or 4 years to see, if and when you're ready, let's have a chat. And he always seemed super nice. So I thought if and when I do move, I will definitely have a conversation with him. I always had a burning desire to set up on my own. I definitely, even to be honest, even before recruitment, I was always like, I will run my own business doing something. Like I always thought I would do. My mum was really into antiques, and I really liked kind of hospitality. And I always thought we'd do like a coffee shop and like an antique store kind of thing. Like, I just always thought that one day I'll be working for myself. So obviously, then once I'd got some recruitment experience, I thought, well, look, maybe it will be in recruitment. But I think I was slightly terrified to do it on my own, and I'd never really met the right person to do it with, where it would be the right person, but also the right time for them. And I thought, really, I should probably go and get some more experience in a third company, just so I can say, like, I've seen 3 different ways of doing things and different leadership styles, and like take the best from all of them. So yeah, I ended up having a conversation with Tom, or a few conversations, and went to Method. In theory, they were like a really similar business, like quite small, sort of 15 to 20 people, tech recruitment. They didn't have a product desk, so there was a good opportunity for me to go in there and set up a product desk, because I'd always done that, product and design. Yeah, so it was kind of like an obvious choice. It didn't take me that long I probably should have explored options, but only in the fact that that's just what you should do. But I was quite comfortable with my choice, and I went to Method. That's obviously when the downturn started anyway. So I was there throughout 2023, which was really tough, obviously, for the company as a whole, but also setting up a new desk was difficult. But I managed to do quite well whilst I was there. And then, yeah, unfortunately, much to Tom's disappointment, I met Nicola. So Nicola was his associate director. She's amazing. Like, he would have obviously been very, very sorry to lose her. And he said when I joined, because she was on maternity leave, so we never actually met during the interview process. Wow. We said, oh, you and Nicola are going to love each other. You're going to get on like a house on fire. Can't wait till you meet Nick. And then our children went to swimming lessons together. So even though we weren't working together yet, we would see each other up at David Lloyd. Our families would have coffee together every Sunday morning, and our kids would go swimming together. So we kind of built a really strong relationship even before she came back from maternity leave. Then she came back in the summer of 2023, and I think quite a lot of change. Like, they'd obviously lost some people, hired some more people. The market was really tough. So she came back, and she was starting to think about what's next for her, because she'd been there about 5 years, I think. And the more time we spent together, and the more like just our values aligned, the way that we wanted to recruit was very similar. The things that we wanted for our own sort of personal lives was very similar. The things that we cared about when it was, candidate experience and the sort of service we're able to give our clients was very similar.
You didn't know each other that much?
No, we'd only known each other 12 months max.
Yeah. It's not a lot.
So it was a big risk.
Who said to who, like, let's explore this?
I think, if I remember rightly, she was telling me about somewhere where she might be having a conversation. Yeah. And then we were walking to our cars, and I was like, oh yeah, well, maybe we could do something. Just like one comment, then we left. And then as soon as I got home, she'd sent me a message going, yes. She was like, please, could we talk more about that? I was like, okay, maybe the time, because I didn't know if she was like up for that.
How long, without going into it, how long from that text to start up, like, or to leaving the job? Like, how long did that?
Not long, probably, because what we really didn't want to do was like pretend for like 6 months and coast and bide our time and like do that on Tom's watch, because I mean, Nick and Tom were really good friends. I got on with him really, really well as well. The other thing at this point, so in 2023, I had a 3-year-old, and we knew that we would want another child soon. And so I was really conscious that when I went to Method, like, I don't want to just be here for 6 months and then get pregnant and then go off and leave him in the lurch. Like, I just don't want to do that to him. I know what it's like when you've got a small company. So then I kind of committed to like either do a full kind of couple of years and really add value before I have maternity leave, or I leave before I have maternity leave, so he's not got me as an overhead. So that was factoring into it as well, in terms of like, if we're going to do it quickly and let's not mess him around. So it was quick. I would say we had the conversation initially in August, and then we resigned probably 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, something like that. And then we took about 6 weeks to get the business together to then launch.
What were the doubts you had at the time? So, and I'm asking this because I hope there's people listening, especially perhaps female recruiters listening, that are interested in, setting up. Maybe they've got someone in mind, maybe they haven't. But I can liken my situation. My best mate was already my best mate, and I brought him into the business. We actually sat there for 2 years and planned it, and we got a third person involved for 2 years. And then, but the reason we didn't do it, it wasn't that we enjoyed doing it on someone's watch and waiting, because I agree with that. But it was more, we weren't ready. We just weren't ready. We didn't feel like the time was right. And we knew, and he'd only just joined the business from a different industry, so he had to learn. There was loads to do. I mean, in reality, we ended up doing something completely different anyway, so it didn't matter. But I remember there was a lot of doubts. There was always a lot of doubts. There was a lot of conversation, and one of us would be like, "Are we sure we can do this?" or whatever. Like, what went through your head, and what concerns did you have?
I think they were quite minimal. I think, obviously it's daunting. The concern is, well, nobody will work with us. Nobody will know who we are. A big thing was probably that we're women, and obviously tech, most hiring managers in tech are men. And do they only take us seriously because our directors are men and our bosses are men? And, is the brand that has already been built at Method and ISL and anywhere else? So that was the main concern is can we even build something that's recognizable that people will take seriously, and will they take us seriously as women and as working mums? Because we always knew we were going to be quite vocal about the fact that we were working mums. We weren't going to hide it. So would that massively go against us? And we knew there was a real, well, there is still a real risk that it does. But apart from that, I'm quite an impulsive person anyway, and I quite enjoy change. So I think once I've got something in my head, and my husband will testify to this, it usually goes ahead and happens really quite quickly, and he comes along for the ride. And I think Nicola, thankfully, was in the same kind of thing where she always said she'd never do it on her own. It was not really on her radar, but she loved the thought of doing it with me. And she was like, if you believe in us, then I believe in us, let's do it, sort of thing. So we were both just quite excited, and we just kind of put loads of ideas down, and it was really about the brand. It was never, well, we'll just recruit and then we'll kind of figure out who we are as we go. It was really about what do we stand for? Why are we doing it? How do we want to be perceived? And how is that going to give us an edge? We have to be different in some way or we won't make it. So how can we be true to ourselves, know that we're providing something better than we currently believe that we are, and really nail it for the launch. We didn't want to just we'll think about that later. So we probably put a lot more effort into the brand and the, even just the copy for the website and just stuff like that than probably most startups would, because you just think we just need to make money. We just need to get out there and go. And we took about 8 weeks to really make sure that we had it nailed.
I'm interrupting today's episode to talk about our sponsor, Atlas Recruitment CRM. Admin is a massive waste of time for recruiters. And that's why Atlas, the world's first AI-first recruitment platform, is built for modern agencies who don't want to do it. It doesn't only track CVs and calls, it remembers everything. Every email, every interview, every conversation. Instantly searchable, always available, and now it's entering a whole new era. With Atlas 2.0, you can ask anything and it'll deliver. With magic search functionality, you speak to it and it listens. It finds the right candidates using real conversations, not simply look up for keywords. For me, this would be massive because I spend most of my time talking to my CRMs, talking to my emails. I'm just better with voice. Probably why I got into recruitment in the first place. Now, Atlas 2.0 also makes BD easier than ever because they've got an opportunity section where you can track, manage, and grow client relationships powered by generative AI and built right into your workflow. If you need insights and reports, they've got custom dashboards that give you total visibility over your pipeline. And that's not theory. Atlas customers have reported up to 41% EBITDA growth and an 85% increase in monthly billings after adopting the platform. So there's no admin, there's no silos, there's no lost info, nothing but faster shortlists, better hires, and more time to focus on what actually drives revenue. Atlas is your personal AI partner for modern recruiting. Now, Don't miss the future of recruitment. Get started with Atlas today and unlock your exclusive RAG listener offer at www.recruitwithatlas.com/the RAG. All right, let's get back to the show. When people say, you know, I want to do it better, we're not, you know, rip up the script, if you like. It's quite commonly said when people start businesses, you know. What did that actually mean to you, like specifically?
Yeah. And I think when people say, oh, we want to do it better in recruitment, usually that means like bill more money. And that was never what it was for us. We're not super billers. We're not doing the US market. Like we were never aiming for crazy figures or crazy salaries. It was all about like maintaining, kind of earning a similar amount that we were used to earning. And if we could get more, then great. But it was never about that. It was about what we could provide, what better lives for ourselves. That was always part of the agenda. But then what we could do better for clients and candidates when it comes to diversity and inclusion and when it comes to a recruitment process. And we were trying to move away from that, kind of like fastest finger first, you know, as soon as a job comes in, it's go, go, go. It's get the CVs out the door within 24 hours. It's getting interviews booked within 48 hours and push, you know, invoice as quickly as we can. And I completely understand that there is a place for that. And when you've got loads of overheads and loads of staff, you know, you have to push like that sometimes, otherwise you just wouldn't make it. Yeah. But we had the opportunity, if we were to just be the two of us and massively reduce those overheads and almost like slow the pace down a little bit. And if we could work with fewer clients that were really invested in what we were doing for them and give them an incredible experience, then maybe that was enough. And then we could, we maybe wouldn't have to charge as much as bigger companies charge. And, you know, there wouldn't be such a race because we're not competing against other agencies. And
you just said it there, haven't you? Like the reason anyone works at that pace, overheads are a factor, but it's typically competition. It's because they're not exclusive, they're not retained.
Yeah.
I was a contract recruiter, right? You know, the first hour when you got a role was mental. Like nuts. Like I'd have sometimes 2 or 3 of my team ringing people. You know, we're all working a list, we're all trying to cover the market. It was just it was pandemonium, and it was really annoying when clients would give a role at 5 o'clock on a Friday because they did it a lot. But that's another story. That's a whole different podcast. But, you know, how did you go about that then? Because in theory, I understand, like, get fewer clients retained or at least exclusivity. How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, the one thing that we guarantee for our clients is to provide them with a diverse shortlist. So that is obviously one of the biggest bugbears and challenges that hiring managers in tech have, is that they get 5 CVs the next day, but they're usually 5 white middle-aged men who have all got very similar experience. Yeah. And, you know, they can all do a brilliant job, but that's not great for the company when they've already got a team of very similar people. Yeah. So they're always like, you know, we're trying to attract women, for example, but when we talk about diversity, we're talking about everything. But women being like a real challenge within tech. So that we're trying to attract more women, you know, we're putting adverts out, but they just don't apply. We don't know how we work with other agencies, but we're still only getting men sent through. You know, how can you guys do it differently? So we really leaned into that. And I think being 2 women, you know, working mums and creating the brand that we have and being really vulnerable on LinkedIn and talking about, you know, our kids are off sick and like this is real life as a working parent, I think that creates like a bit of a safe space for a female chief product officer that works in a really corporate world and can't really be herself and is, you know, with so many people will come to us and say, you know, I feel really nervous about going to a job interview with my wedding ring on because I know as soon as they see that, they know that I'm about the age where I probably think about having kids and I know it will go against me. So what do you recommend? Like, do I tell them that I'm married?
That is an incredible example of like what's wrong with recruitment.
And it's true because we've heard it from the other side as well. We've heard the hiring managers say to us, we don't want people from like this age range or, that have recently got married because we need people without kids at the moment. And obviously we say, thank you very much, we're not going to work with you.
You can appreciate you can appreciate a scenario where someone's taking a new person in and they're like, well, I don't, it's not an ideal scenario to bring someone in and then within 3 months I'm doing it again. I get that, but to put someone in a position where they've got to hide who they are is difficult. It's really difficult.
It's so frustrating that it's really overlooked kind of the value that women, I'm using women as an example, but obviously I'm talking about diversity in general, but the value that women bring outside of maybe like how many hours they can work if maybe they could only do 4 days rather than 5, and that like different perspective and different thought, and a lot of your customers and consumers are going to be women, but you've got a whole team of men building the product. So like, okay, she can only work 3 days a week and sometimes her kids might be off sick, but like, how great is it that you're now able to start building the women in your team to build better products and ultimately make more money as a business anyway? And I think that just gets lost in like recruitment, and we just need people and we just need to build this and ship this product as quickly as we can. So I think a lot of companies do think about it a lot earlier now, because of course you then get in a rut, like you're in startup phase. You've just taken investment, you've got to deliver something by a certain deadline, so you have to hire this many heads, and it's easier to hire men, so you just hire men. Then you've got a company of 15 men, so then when you can slow down a bit, women don't want to join because like, I don't really want to work with 15 men, like why don't you have any women? Is there a cultural issue there? So it just spirals. And we actually had a client that we took on really early when we first set up, and there were 75 people with 2 women, because they just couldn't get past that barrier because they'd not thought about it early enough.
Yeah, and then it becomes a perpetual cycle, doesn't it?
Exactly.
You can't get women to accept offers anyway. So
yeah.
Okay, so you sat down at the beginning of that 8-week period with Nicola, and you wrote this out, and you said, "Look, this is how we're going to be different. We're going to go and we're going to lead with this." Had you been playing that? Had you been playing that narrative out like vocally in your employment at Method or previous?
No, I think we were quite big advocates for hiring women internally, because obviously that's a problem as well. Yeah. Like, oh, we've made another recruit. Oh, it's another man. Okay, well, what happened to the woman that we were interviewing? Like, that was always something that was a real frustration. And if we don't, even if they don't seem like they can hit the ground running for whatever reason, whatever background they come from, even if they don't like feel like maybe they were better than the guy that you interviewed, hire them both, because like the potential. So we were always quite vocal about that. But never in the context of this is the brand that we will set up. It was just like something that we were absorbing, I think, over the past 8 years or whatever. And we just realized how much of a problem it was. And then we felt it ourselves, being women in recruitment in tech, that we get it. We know what it's like. So then, once we started getting ideas down, we just thought this could really be something. And this could be what really, people need.
How did that go in year one? I think you build around, was it 150K in year one?
Yeah. Right? So launched in November. I think we did our first deal in January. We did, so our financial year sort of January to December, and we did about 150 in year one, which we were really disappointed with. I think.
You were disappointed,
We were really disappointed because we thought, we knew it was 2024, so the worst recruitment market ever. Companies were shutting down. I understand it was a terrible market, but we really believed that we could do more than that, and that we had the potential to do more. But when I look back on sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, what impact did the narrative have? Like, how much would you put back in year one? How much would you say that leading with that diversity focus actually opened doors or not?
All of it, yeah. I think all of it, to be honest. I don't think, trying to think of like a client that doesn't really, because obviously there will be businesses and clients that like is great as a bonus, but it's not really a challenge for us. Like, we're fine. But I can't really think about a business that like doesn't care about it and doesn't like love that element of what we do. And I think it got loads of conversations going as well. Like, BD was really hard at that point, wasn't it? So people just wouldn't even speak to you. But because we were new and because we seemed different, people really wanted to have that conversation with us. We actually found a lot of talent managers wanted to internal talent
Yeah.
acquisition wanted to have conversations with us. Hardly any of them went anywhere, and I think it's obviously because they wanted to know what are we doing differently and how do they
Yeah.
attract female talent as well. And we obviously wised up a little bit to that. But yeah, loads of people wanted to know kind of how are we doing it and what are we doing. And we got the whole bunch of new clients on. I mean, in that year, like Nick had a 1-year-old, so she had her hands full. I was pregnant for 7 months of the year, so I fell pregnant like mid 2024. I had a puppy. I had a renovation going on. Like there was a lot that happened in that year. So then I look back like that. I think actually 150 for brand new startup, no clients, worst recruitment market ever. All of that stuff going on in our personal life, like
Probably working part-time each, really, in
working
reality.
both working part time. It's actually not that bad. Like we go
Great.
again in year two. Then we came into year two. Then so I was going on maternity leave in February 25.
Yeah.
So we'd had a really bad couple of months. We had a really great start, and then November, December was not good at all. 2024. Thankfully, we had loads of jobs come in December. We were absolutely filled to the brim. And it was like the perfect time for me to go off because I said I'll take 3 months. I don't want to take any more than that because we're just not in a position yet to, sustain it. So yeah, we had tons of jobs with brilliant clients, like our favorite clients, people that we had brilliant processes with, great relationships with. So Nick just went into full resource mode for 3 months. She absolutely smashed it, filled every single job, completely turned around like where we were because we were really starting to panic. If things don't pick up, I don't really know how sustainable this will be. So I came back in May and we were in a great spot to then just sort of start again, do some more business development. The relationships that we kind of got from year one then started to blossom a little bit and we were able to kind of land and expand in some of those businesses and pick up some new teams. And we've been busy ever since. We've had a brilliant, nearly 12 months now, crazy, but yeah, it's been great. And I think
Can I just pause on the maternity leave because my wife my daughter's only just really started nursery. She didn't go in for 2 years, and then my mum would come in on a Friday from about 6 months old, and then this year she's going Monday all day and half day on a Wednesday, and so my wife's getting a bit more time for work again, only a little bit, and my gym is opposite a little a different nursery, and I see some of these tiny little ones going in and their parents driving off to work, and I actually feel really sad for both parties. I'm like, because surely, those are critical times, and it's like, they're so small. So how did you feel, and what was that like going back to work after 3 months, and how did you manage it? I'm not saying what you did was wrong. I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah. And you're right, like it is quite rare. And I think people do think like, oh, interesting. Like I would never have expected her to do that, or I couldn't see myself doing that. And like with my first, I had 15 months off. It was COVID. It was just the two of us. It was like polar opposite. It was one of those things where I always, like from falling pregnant or even from setting up Hera, I knew it was going to be the case. It wasn't like a last minute, like, oh, I'm really gutted, I can only take 3 months. It was always like, if I set up Hera and I have a baby, it's going to be a short maternity and I'm going to have to manage life with both. And I'm like up for that. We got really lucky in that my husband, he was a contractor with a big, with Balfour Beatty, so a huge construction company for 4 years. And then they always wanted to turn in permanent, but obviously financially, like we couldn't really make that work because it'd be a big drop. So we'd always said no. But one of the things that they do offer, which I just wish more companies would offer, is shared parental leave and, enhanced paternity leave. So they sort of dangled that as a bit of a carrot and said, maybe now's the right time to turn perm. We do have, so he was able to get 6 months shared parental leave, full pay, plus I think it was 4 weeks paternity leave on top of that as well. So we had 7 months off, which in our scenario, like,
amazing,
couldn't have been any better. The alternative would have been getting a nanny. I wouldn't have been, I couldn't have sent him to nursery at 3 months.
You see it though. We do see it. I see it every morning, some of these little ones.
Yeah, because nannies are so expensive, and I don't know how we would have managed, but I guess we would have had to. But yeah, sending them to nursery when they're that little is heartbreaking. I mean, Marley went when he was 7 months, so Neil went back to work. He
Yeah.
went in September when he was 7 months, so he did 3 days a week from 7 months.
I bet he had an amazing. Your husband must have had a really amazing experience that you had with the first child, and he had it with your
Yeah,
second
it's like,
child.
yeah, an absolute dream for most men, isn't it? It's one of those things that like will never happen, but then it's
Yeah.
starting to happen. And we've got our eldest in school, so the whole of the Easter holidays, the whole of the summer holidays, he was just off with both of them. And it was, yeah, he just was like, I feel like this will be in mine and Jesse, our eldest, memories forever. Like he'll never
Yeah.
forget that summer holidays where I was just with dad every single day and he didn't have to work. So yeah, it was a dream, and I just wish more companies would offer it, because I don't know why, because you can't take it at the same time. It's not like women and men can take a year off. It has
Yeah.
to be one or the other. So if everyone did it, then it would balance out anyway. Like it makes complete sense that I understand if you're breastfeeding, it's different, but for me, I wasn't, so it didn't make any difference, and it just made complete sense for our family that I would work and he would take some time off.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah,
And and you got back on the tools, and so when did you, and talk us through it, like, because you've got your classic recruitment strategy of reach out, book meetings and the rest of it, but you've actually started to build like a community, a mentorship type program. Like, there's more to what you're offering now than just pure plug and play recruitment. Like, when did all that start to
yeah.
eventually?
Well, Hera Voice was something that we knew, like even before we launched, that we always wanted to have recruitment, which was Hera, and then Hera Voice, which was like a community platform where we could, because we didn't want to like not cloud, but we didn't want to dilute the recruitment service that we were giving with all this other stuff that wasn't necessarily needed for every client. So we thought it'd be good to keep it separate. And yes, you'll get a diverse shortlist, but everything else that we talk about and events that we hold and everything would be under the Hera Voice brand. So that was or is, it's still a thing, but a community piece where we can hold events, so in-person events or just webinars. We did quite a few webinars that year with people that are in leadership positions that have had fantastic careers, who maybe have ADHD, or maybe they're a woman, or maybe they are talking about a disability that they have, or whatever it is that makes them kind of within a minority group where there might have been some struggles and challenges, and people don't really get that, or a lot of the time you don't get that representation in your company, and you think, well, I'll never get to that level because I'm female, or I'll never get to that level because I'm dyslexic, or whatever
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is. And then
yeah,
you can hop on these webinars and you can see like that does not need to hold you back. There is so much opportunity. Let's talk about it. Let's shout about it. Let's tell our clients about how great this pool of candidates are. So we wanted that to, so we thought, that will provide support, and yeah, just it would be a good thing, a nice thing to do for our network. But also it would help us to build that pool of candidates that we are trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
then,
So what does it
present.
look like? Like, how have you actually put that together?
So yeah, I mean, to be honest, we spent too much time on that in year one, and I think that was another reason why we were a bit disappointed with our revenue,
Yeah,
because obviously that doesn't make it, probably builds into the bigger picture of making money like over time. It's the long game, but it certainly wasn't going to make us money in year one. And I think we just spent too much time on it. So we did in-person events, and we did webinars, and we've also just like introduced people. But because we do that and we were sort of posting on that page a lot, people would then introduce us to other people, and then we would say, oh, I know who you should speak to, let me put you in touch with this person, and just kind of snowballed. And it's brilliant. I'm still really proud of it and glad that we have it, but it has to be kind of secondary to
yeah.
the recruitment, of
So what is
course
it?
it does.
Is it on like a platform, like a
It's
circle or a
literally a
school?
LinkedIn page. Yeah,
Right.
literally a LinkedIn page. And then, it's just a case of people kind of coming to us, being invited. And then we will invite, if we had a webinar, we would invite everyone on our database, so then they could become part of Hero Voice as well. So it was kind of,
How often do you run webinars?
we were doing them like at least once a quarter, once every couple of months. And yeah, they were great. I mean, if we could, we've often thought if we ever hired someone, we would hire someone specifically to help with that stuff because
Community manager, yeah.
we really want to do it. It's brilliant for all sorts of reasons, but it does take a lot of time, doesn't it? And obviously, just being the two of us, yeah, it held us back in year one for sure. But it's still there. We are going to pick it back up a little bit. We just kind of paused it and thought, let's just focus on what our bread and butter is, and then pick it back up and maybe just like scale it back a little bit. And then recently we have just launched Olympus Leaders, which is really exciting. That is, again, a community piece, but it is for any leader. So a leader, head of, a director, even right up to founder level, who wants to be part of a community. And predominantly is a mentorship program. So we'll match people up in terms of one-to-one mentoring. But also it will be meetups and like online meetups, in-person meetups, breakfast events, whatever they want. So we're going to make sure that we're sort of asking the question, what would be valuable for you, specifically for regulated industries. So really just by chance. And I think kind of that's where through the terrible recruitment time, a lot of the money is kind of still within the regulated space, whether that be fintech or prop tech. And those leaders we are hearing kind of face some different challenges and those kind of compliance issues alongside the products that they're trying to build. And they don't always know people kind of outside of their own company to bounce ideas off and understand more about those regulations. Especially tiny companies. Like we placed a COO once into a tiny fintech, and she's amazing, but she'd never worked in a regulated space before. So she was just doing it all by herself. And she's like, I don't really know anyone in this space. So I'm just reading so much and, you know, my head's pounding all the time. And I just wish I kind of knew some people to ask. And we were like, well, we know people, you know, we can intro you to people. Yeah. And then we kind of thought, well, we do know people, but we don't really know like who would want to be contacted about, who's got time, who might want to be a mentor. So then we thought, let's formalize this and invite people to come in either as just a member. So you don't have to be a mentor or a mentee. You can just be a member and just come along to events, or you can just kind of see who's in the group and maybe reach out to them directly if you've got a question. Or you could be like a structured mentor-mentee partnership. And we basically facilitate that. So when we ask them, what are you looking for from a mentor? What are you looking for from a mentee? And when we found two people that would be great for each other, we match them up and then we set them on the way.
Charge for any of those services?
Completely free.
Yeah. So it's a pure value play, isn't it? It's building trust, building relationships, living and breathing what you're saying. You genuinely believe in the D&I space and you're impacting it. You're going to be building that repository of people without a doubt, which then when you go and say we are different, you'll have an actual asset that backs you up. Quick question for you on D&I. You know, has it been harder to sell, or has it changed in any way due to the political backlash, like the Donald Trump and what's going on in the US?
No, we did kind of think like when all that started kicking off with, oh goodness me, like this is not good timing for us. But no, I don't. Like in reality, no. And I think, you know, we're a tiny. I'm sure it has for, you know, larger businesses, but I think because we're such a small business and we only need a handful of great clients that care about this stuff, then no, I don't think it will impact us. We still have people that are very invested in what we're delivering and love what we're able to deliver. And I'm sure, hopefully, that will continue because it's not going away, is it? You know, it's not.
No. Have you ever lost a client because of your positioning? Has anyone gone or not? You can tell like that went against you in the pitch process.
Yeah, it's interesting because me and Nick kind of criticize ourselves every day and always try and learn, always ask for feedback, always try and do things better. And so every time we go on a pitch call, and if we don't get it, we really kind of try and pick it apart and understand why we didn't. And yeah, I'm sure there will definitely have been. We had one recently where so we've done a load of work with a particular client, and then the VP of people for that client recommended us to this MD of another business. So, you know, perfect recommendation. They've done 10 plus placements with us. We love Emma and Nicola. They do X, Y, and Z brilliantly. That's who you want. It was also for a very similar role that we placed in that company. We'd also filled it really quickly. It was a director role. We filled it, I think, in 22 days. So everything was like tick, tick, tick. He's got no reason not to use us. but he was just like quite disengaged with. And then he said, "Oh, I've had a quick look at your website. Do you only recruit for women?" And we said, "Oh no, that's not the first time we've heard that. And actually, we are thinking about changing some of the colours on our website because we don't want people to think that it's all about diversity and men are just as important to women when it comes to a diverse shortlist. But we represent women and we empower women, and we want to speak for them. Blah blah blah." So you will get probably 60% of your shortlist will be women and probably 40% men. That's typically how it will go. And he said, "Okay, well, great. I'm considering another agency." And then we didn't hear anything for a few days. So I reached out and said, "Oh, just to let you know, like, we're still really happy to take this on for you. Is there anything else that we can provide you with?" And he was like, "Oh no, I'm still considering the other agency, and I'm waiting for another introduction from my network. Out of interest, could you give me some stats around like how quickly you could fill this role?" So I was able to provide exactly what we'd done for the other client for the same roles, different locations. Like, you couldn't really, not tooting our own horn, but you couldn't have asked for anything more.
Yeah.
And then in the end, we didn't hear anything for another week. And then he said, "Oh, I've decided to go with a recruitment partner that I've used before and that I trust," which is absolutely fine. But that's an example where I think the only thing is probably because
Yeah.
he's not bought in. He doesn't really get it. He's maybe just sees it as like fluff that I don't really
Yeah.
have time for, which is fine because we don't really want to work with
No,
business.
you weed it. The good thing about what you do is you do weed out a lot of people in the process
Yeah,
that you were never going to work with you anyway. And that's same with me. Like, this the narrative I have around the modern agency and the way people should work. There's a lot of people that will be like, "Well, I don't like that guy, and I don't like what his mindset and how he
yeah,
sees it." We wouldn't have worked together anyway. We just saved each other the time of the call, right?
100%. Yeah,
So,
that's what I love
um,
is that we can choose now.
so one of the things we spoke about in the pre-call was around like your lifestyle and like the kind of plan for Hera, both now and in the future. So,
Yeah.
I think you said, was it around the second year was 300 billings approximately, or was it 350? Where's my notes?
Yeah, so we did 150 in
350.
year one, 350 in year two.
Yeah.
And obviously in year two, I was off on maternity leave for
Mm,
3 months, and then I was only working 3 days a week for the rest of the year. So we were running like under capacity, and we did 350. So we think 500 is very achievable for us. We've also now got like a virtual assistant. So like
amazing.
yeah, she's great. She works with like several recruitment founders, and you just kind of pay for the amount of hours that you need per month.
Great.
So we got a little bit of help. Like, we're just dipping our toe into like getting some help because we've always said we don't want any help. We're just going to do it, the two of us. So yeah, our plan and our hope is that we can build 500 this year and then consistently onwards. Really, we don't have any aspirations to do more than that because that should provide us with a great lifestyle, being super present with our kids, not having to miss anything with our kids, but also earning a good salary. So
Yeah, if you're earning a couple hundred K a year and you're living life with your family, surely that beats making 5 times that and missing out on 5 times of this. And that's what I do
yeah,
think that's what a lot of the world and a lot of our community is waking up to. Like, I've personally, if I look at my life pre-pandemic, I just got married in London. That didn't work out. I left. But the life I was on the trajectory for in London and traveling in on the tube and maybe
yeah,
moving out to Essex, but it was all face to face. It was in the office. It was traveling trains. I would have had kids and probably been in London all the time. And now
yeah,
I'm the complete opposite. I live in Sheffield. I'm working in my studio, which is converted at home. My daughter says that it's Daddy's house when she walks past my little studio. She goes, "Daddy's house." But like, after this, I will be in with my family having food, right? And
yeah,
I'll put my daughter to bed every night. I put her to nap time almost every day. My wife said it the weekend. She sent me a text. I took her to this soft play in Leicester. It was the biggest soft play you've ever seen. It's madness.
yeah.
It's
Sounds
amazing.
like absolute hell.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. Me and a couple of other blokes who've got 2-year-olds all went, and we thought we talked to each other. We didn't see each other for the whole time until the
Yeah.
end when we had that food. But my wife was like, "You're such a good dad. Like, I love what you're doing." And it was
Oh,
nice to hear because and she's like, "But you're putting the work in, and the bond you've got with her is amazing." And I'm like,
yeah,
I couldn't imagine it any other way. Like, I just couldn't
yeah,
imagine it any other way. And if someone said to me, "Well, Hoxo could triple," but you've kind of got to sacrifice, I couldn't give a shit.
yeah, yeah. I had a bit of an insight into like what it's like for dads, obviously, because I was back at work and
Yeah.
Neil was with Marley, and it's really hard. Like he was way closer to my husband than he was to me. Like I'd grown him and birthed him,
Yeah.
and yet I couldn't get him to settle. I couldn't do bedtimes for a while because he would scream. Whereas if my husband did it, he would go down like really
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I get it when dads, they've got no choice. They have to go to work and they're home past bedtime most nights. They don't build that bond as quickly as they would want to. And then you retract a bit because you think, well, I'm not really needed and I can't really do very much. And it's really hard. And then you probably don't do as much as you could because you're just out of the habit. And I just had a real like reality check of what it is like for a lot of dads, I think.
So what does an ideal week look like for you then? Like as a mother, as an entrepreneur, business partner, wife, you've got all these
Yeah.
roles. But what does an ideal? What do you want to fit in a week? This is what
Yeah.
personal. I'm just interested in what you want to do.
I tell you what, not the last week that I've just had. We have had a shocker. We've all had COVID, and I've got sinus infection now. My kids have been off school and nursery. It's all been going on. So let's pretend that
Pick an
didn't
ideal
happen.
week. Let's pick an
Let's
ideal week.
pick an ideal week. Um, so me and my husband kind of split out in terms of drop-offs and pickups. So he does a Monday. He'll book them in. He'll book my eldest into breakfast club and after school club. I don't need to do anything with the kids on a Monday. I've got a long day of work, and he'll drop them off, pick them up, and then I do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in terms of drop-offs and pickups, and I'll use breakfast club and after school club as well for a couple of those
Yeah.
days. And I don't have to pick my youngest up from nursery until 6 anyway. So I get really like decent days. And my eldest is 6, so even when I pick him up from school, like he'll have a snack, watch a bit of telly. So that's great.
That's
I've got a dog, so I will take at least an hour a day to walk the dog. And I can just obviously fit that. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. Don't have to be in my lunch break. I'll do that whatever time works for my needs.
No one's saying thanks for coming on the way out.
No one say thanks for coming when I take the dog out. I'll go to the gym like 3 to 4 times a week. Well, 4 times a week. So I'll do a couple on the weekend, but then I know at least twice in the week. Usually on a Monday I'll go at 6, and then maybe on a Wednesday I might go at lunchtime. And anything that kind of needs me that's not work related, like there's no major stress. Like obviously I need to be in 2 places at once sometimes, and yes, it does get hard, but it's only like it helps. I think that me and Nicola are in exactly the same situation. So this last week where Marley's been off nursery constantly, like there's no tutting or eye rolling or thinking like, oh gosh, she's off again. She gets it and she's amazing. She picks up my slack and I pick up hers, and we just work as a team really. So yeah, that's kind of the ideal week. Is
What I love about it is, and I can relate because it's actually quite simple what you're asking for. You're not asking for like this, flying around in a private jet, investing in Bitcoin. You're asking just to be with your family and to work and just to build a good business with someone you care about. I think that's what most of us are looking for. I really do. I've got a balance now where I'm pretty happy with it. It's took me a long time to get there, but I wish I'd have known I wish I would have known it was possible when I was starting off, because I didn't think back in 2017 it just balance wasn't a thing that I knew existed.
No.
And I want people listening to think, you've got to work hard. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you can just sit on your ass all day and it's going to be easy, but you don't have to commit 12 hours every day just because other people say you do. You don't. You can be productive.
And that's the thing, like, okay, I've done all of that, I've picked the kids up, but then when they're in bed, I'll come back to my office and log on for 3 hours and, do everything that I couldn't do between sort of 5 and 7 or whatever. So, like you say, you have to work hard and you have to figure out, I think some people struggle with that discipline, and if they've got no one telling them to do it, then it doesn't get done. But I think you soon learn that doesn't really work because obviously the results aren't coming. But yeah, it just means like that's great. Like, what else do I need to be doing in the evening? Like, I don't have to do it every single night. If I want a night not working, then I'll watch a bit of telly with Neil. Like, but that's great because I've managed to walk my dog. I've been to the gym. I've spent some time with my kids. I've done a load of work in the day as well, and now I'm going to do a bit more in the evening. Like, it's the dream, really.
I love it. Well, but that's what this is about. It's about building a business that suits you, not just because of just building something for other people's benefit. It's just not about that. In terms of Nicola, wanted to ask, like, how do you split what you two do in work? Is there any definition of your roles where you do certain things and she does certain things?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question actually, because we got it wrong at first, and then over the last year, it seems to be working really, really well. We tried to like split everything out, which I think if we were both full time, and when I say full time, we do work full time hours, but we both have a day off. So I have a Thursday off and she has a Friday off.
Right.
So if we were both working 5 days, full days a week, then I think maybe that would work a bit better. But because we're on at different times, it was just too complicated. Stuff would get missed. She wouldn't know what I'm working on. I wouldn't know what she was working on. And we were like trying to figure out, oh, you're really good at this, so you do all of that. And I'm really good at this, so I'll do all of this. And then, of course, one goes on holiday. And yeah, it just wasn't really working. It wasn't very efficient. So now, and you might say this isn't very efficient either, but for us it works. We do everything together. So
Okay.
pretty much every client call we do together, and then we will work on a role together. So we'll delegate. So every morning, every 9 o'clock every day, we'll hop on a Teams call. We'll go through the to-do list. We've got like a weekly running to-do list. We're very organised. We've got, we use like OneNote and stuff. We've got everything. Everything's accessible to us both. Everything's written down. Everything's logged. So we'll go through it together, decide on the priorities, who's going to take what today, check in again at lunchtime, maybe check in again at the end of the day. And then the next day, so it might be that I was resourcing for a role today, but she's going to do the screening calls tomorrow. And then I'm going to do the interview prep for them the next day. Like, so we're both working on both jobs, but obviously not duplicating work.
I think it's super smart. Like, there's no right way to do this. There's absolutely no right way to do this. And what you're basically saying as well by doing that is the knowledge is not lost. So if you're on each client call together, you catch up 3 times a day and you're designating what each is doing towards a common objective of filling those jobs.
Yeah.
It is seamless. One of you takes a day off, 2 days off, you're okay.
Yeah.
Mine and Emma's role split quite quickly, and mine was more brand focused and his was more the finance and commercial side. And we were both selling, but it took us for a long time to realize that actually that was the bit that we both were best at, was still to be the front office salespeople. So he did when we grew the team, he did every role. He was leading everything at one point. Like, he's done every single role in the business pretty much, apart from the marketing side. Now he's like pure commercial. What do we spend money on? What do we make? How do we make money? Like, and he leads the sales team, whereas I lead the marketing and delivery and get involved in the sales. But we've got a clear distinction and a line, and it works. It worked, but we speak
about what you enjoy as well, don't you? Like, it can take a couple of years to be like, I might be good at that, but I don't actually really like it. So let's outsource that. Let's get someone else to do it, and then really focus on what makes this a great job for me, and what do I love doing. And I think that's it just took us a minute to figure that out.
One thing we've always done well, and I think I'm confident in saying you're doing and will do, is communicate on why and what you're trying to build and stay on the same page as each other. Like, it sounds like you're both in a similar situation at home. The 500k target excites you both. Like, it's not like one of you's going, I want to scale a team, and the other one's going, I want to keep it 2 of us. Like, you're both on that. And that, I see so many founders break down, because at the beginning when there's nothing, it's like, yeah, that's great. But as soon as there's something there to either build or protect, one wants one wants the other. And, and it's a constant. I mean, lives change. Even you might be on the same path now, and it might change in 2 years. So you got to keep that. Got to keep that.
And we always say that to each other as well. Like, never say never. Like, when people say, "Oh, you're going to scale, you're going to grow," like, we don't think so. If we can sustain what we want to, then maybe not. But like, it might be an obvious choice to bring someone in 12 months' time. Like, we're not ruling it out. We're just like, it's not the goal.
So my final question. Well, 2 questions. Where do you think you'll be in 3 years? So what year are we on now? 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 years time, where do you want the business? Like, is it just you two 500k? Is there anything you'd add to that you'd grow?
Such a good question, because people always say, like, do you really want to be like on the phone to candidates in like 10 years time? Because that's why people grow, is because they want to be more hands off. And I'm like, yeah, I actually really enjoy that part of it. Like, I've always been 360. Like, when people say, oh, why don't you do business development, or why don't you lead a delivery team, or like do one or the other, because I just love doing everything. So I genuinely don't, at this moment in time, don't think I will have a problem doing exactly what we do today, all day, every day, in 3 years' time. But what I would like is to have more, say we've got like, say we work with 10 clients a year, but 3 of them are like really lucrative for us. I'd like to move that number to like 7 or 8. So it's more stable. We don't worry too much about BD. We know where our business is coming from. And if one of them drops off a cliff, that's fine, because we've got another 6 or 7.
That should come from doing what you're doing now well, consistently over a period of time.
Yeah.
Each year you compound, don't you? You've got more clients, you're doing a better job.
Exactly.
Final question then is, if you could go back to the Emma version of Emma that was starting the business in 2023, what would be the one thing you'd say, like the one bit of advice you'd say now where, now you're 2 years ahead?
I stress about the small stuff. I'm very detail orientated, and I get really focused on things that probably don't matter that much. So I would say I probably did a lot more of that at the start, and now I've probably learned, like, it's fine. You won't even think about that tomorrow. Move on. It's done. Move on. Focus on something that deserves attention. So I think that's the thing, is that like not everything will be perfect. Don't stress the small stuff. Just like carry on the path. You know what you're doing. Back yourself. It will be okay. Just keep going.
Love that. Because we do. But you don't know that until you've been through it a little bit. In the early days, like anything new, you panic.
Everything matters.
Yeah. Emma, we could have carried on for another hour easily on this story, and there's so many topics that are spinning off this that I think I'd like to get you back on in the future. I'd like to get you on in a year or so's time. You're at that 500,000, and I want to see if you're still content with that. I think you will be, but I'd like to have that conversation if you're willing to do it.
Yeah.
If anyone's listened and thought, you know what, I need to pick your brains, whether they're a fellow female recruiter that wants to start, whether they're already a founder, whether, it might be a male recruiter that just wants to get your perspective on something. Is it okay if I tag you on LinkedIn and they reach out?
100%. Yeah. Especially any women in recruitment that like are worried about the longevity of their career, or thinking about starting up, don't really know how to do it. I would absolutely love to help.
Awesome. Well, look, Emma, I wish you and your business partner the best of luck. I really do think you're going to smash it. Your goals are clear, and I want to get you back on and see where you are, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for listening to today's episode of the RAG podcast. If you haven't already, please do subscribe wherever you listen to this show. As the more subscribers we get, the more people will listen and the more recruitment owners we can help. As a recruitment founder, you must know that things are changing. AI is everywhere. Cold outreach is getting harder, and job boards, well, they're not what they used to be. But personally, despite the negativity, I believe the future is the greatest opportunity of our lifetime in recruitment, because for the first time ever, a founder with 5 recruiters with a clear niche and the right systems can build the kind of influence, reach, and profitability that used to take 500 recruiters and a global office network. The agencies that are winning right now aren't necessarily the biggest, but they are the most visible, the most trusted, and the ones building inbound demand. At Hoxo, we're working with clients who are running multiple 6 and 7 figures in net profit, outperforming the negative noise and headlines. So, to explain what these guys are doing, I've created a brand new free masterclass video for RAG listeners. In this video, it's less than 10 minutes long. I'm going to show you what these businesses are doing differently from the rest. So the link's in the description. Fill in the form, watch the video, and see exactly how this system that these clients are using could work for your agency. Good luck.